Uh, I love intimate conversations. That's where the impact, in my opinion, happens. All right, so hello everyone. Welcome to Meet with an Expert, Building Wealth Through Real Estate. My name is Gabby Franco-Oladonka. I'm the Assistant Director of the Student Money Management Center here at Texas Women's University. On Zoom right now, our director, Shalise Connors, she is our director of the Student Money Management Center. She is on our Zoom portion. The Student Money Management Center is here to serve students at TWU on all three campuses, Dallas, Houston, and the Denton campus. We bring fun, eventful presentations as well as workshops throughout the entire academic year. So please follow us at TWU Maroon Money. This month is our Maroon Money Month, where we're hosting 25 events, and this is one of them. And we are having punch cards. If you attend 6 of our events throughout the entire month, you can redeem it for a tote bag. It's really cute. Oh, there you go. It's really cute. And so today our expert is Miss Kim Bogney, and I will introduce her in a moment. Just a FYI about housekeeping, this meeting is being recorded. So for the students here, be careful about what you're saying and whispering because the microphone is pretty sensitive. For Zoom people, you can use the chat feature if you would like. Online people, be sure to switch your view to speaker view so that you can see the slide deck and the presenter throughout the presentation. That can be found on your upper right corner or maybe on the side of your screen. In the chat, if you are a Houston or a Dallas student, please put in what campus you are at, and then at the end of this presentation, please complete the 6-question anonymous survey that is provided. And we have a work search right now going on for the in-person people, so please complete that, and first come, first serve in regards to winning one of the door prizes today. Yes. And now you don't want to hear from me, but I have one more thing to say before Kim come up here. But Kim Bogney's bio, I have to read. So Kim is a longtime Texan and 20-year Collin County resident with a deep knowledge of the local real estate market. As a 5-year resident of Mustang Lanes, she understands the neighborhood's nuances essential for pricing and marketing homes. With a background in operations and analytics from her career at JCPenney's headquarters, Kim brings strong communication skills, trend spotting abilities, and strategic insight to her client. A licensed realtor since 2018, she has consistently ranked, ranked in the top 20% of her market centers, serves as chair of Prosperous Salina Business Meeting, co-chairs the Keller Williams North Country Luxury Group, and is a member of the Agent Leadership Council. Married to her high school sweetheart for 30 years, Kim launched her real estate career after her son's graduation to pursue her passion for investing and helping others achieve home ownership. With 25 years as a homeowner and investor, she prioritized her clients' goal to deliver exceptional results. Thank you for being here, Kim. I truly appreciate it, and the program is yours.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. I had to say something funny. So you know how when you do your bio and sometimes you tailor it to the audience that you're speaking to?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to put the Mustang Lake thing in there. Like that was very specific to somebody I was presenting to my neighborhood. Yeah. So I didn't have to say that, but nonetheless. And then so here's the other thing. I know Teresa. Teresa and I work together. She works as a teacher at Grace Chapel Early Learning Center, one of our teachers. And I'm the business manager over there. So I picked up a job. Remember I told you like the market was like, that's what down. So like, I started working at Grace Chapel because one, just to have just a little steady stream. It's not like a lot of money, but just a little steady stream. And two, to get out, meet people. There are young families that come to the center and they have, they're looking for places to live. So it's strategic of why I'm there. So thank you, Teresa, for coming out. I know that you have an exam to study for, so I'm hoping that you'll gain a lot of great knowledge that will carry you well into your retirement. So like you said, I'm Kim Bogney, with Keller Williams, North Country in Salina. So I office in Salina, work in Salina, but I also serve the entire Dallas-Fort Worth market. I got into real estate, like she said, when my son graduated from high school. You know, I don't know if you're aware, but as a child, to your parents, you take up a lot of their time. You know, they run you all over the place. They, you know, pick you up from places. They're always concerned about your schedule, all your events and activities. And are you an only child, Teresa?
No, I have two other sisters.
Two other sisters?
Yeah.
And where are you?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest?
Yeah.
Okay, so when your parents get down to that last one, because right now they're probably still running. What year are you in school?
I'm in my first year.
First year? So they're probably still running.
Yeah.
Like they got 3 girls at home.
Right.
Hi. Thank you, ladies, for joining. Hello. So your parents are probably still running like they've got 3 girls at home.
Right.
And it's probably gonna be by the time they get to that second child and she's gone, they're gonna be like, wait a minute, things are slowing down. I have a little bit more time on my hand. And that's how I felt. So when our son, I just had one. So when he graduated from high school, I just found that I had so much time and energy on my hand that I wanted to, you know, start pursuing things that I had been dabbling in for several years in the past. So that's when I went and took my real estate classes and got my license. And it took me 30 days to take all the classes, like 180 hours. I did it in 30 days because I had a lot of energy. So I got my classes knocked out, no problem. And got my license and, you know, I wanted to have my license so I could kind of buy and you know, homes and property investments for myself. But then obviously, you know, it turns into a career. So much so that I left my career from JCPenney corporate after 28 years. You know, so the money, I remember my husband saying, well, when are you, no, he told me, because I'm like, I'm not sure how long I'm gonna stay at JCPenney's while I have my license. I'm still doing both. And he says, well, when JCPenney starts costing you money, that's when you should leave. It makes sense. So after 2 years, I did go ahead and leave JCPenney and I did real estate full time, and I'm so glad. I wish I would have done it sooner. But I'm not here to convince you guys about going into a career with real estate. It's not everybody's calling. In fact, you have to pay to work. Are y'all going to school to pay to work at your job? Anybody? Anybody? You know, doesn't that sound crazy? You guys are all looking at me like, what are you talking about? That sounds like sharecropping or something. It sounds crazy. But in real estate, you know, we have to pay for our license, we have to pay for our education, we have to pay for our marketing, we have to pay for like signs and all the things, lock boxes, everything. We have to pay dues, all of these things we have to pay to be a realtor. So I'm not here to convince you to be a realtor, but I am here to tell you that, you know, you guys are all adults. So Teresa, you said you're in your first year. Can you ladies tell me your names?
Lindsay,
Lindsay, what year are you in?
sophomore.
Sophomore?
Yes, ma'am. Lola, no,
Lola is a sophomore as well. Do you guys feel like adults?
Yes, I've had experiences that have made me have to grow up sooner than I'd like, so. Yes, I feel like an adult.
You feel like an adult?
Yes, I've always been in, really had to take on that once my mom passed December 2022 and she was the only parent. So then I moved here almost 2 years ago. So yes.
Okay, alrighty. So maybe, hopefully I will be telling you some things today that will help you as you are adulting, as you are adulting. But the reason why I say it is that I know students your age, and I have a son, he's he's older than you guys, he's 25. And I don't know if he still quite feels like an adult, but he is. You know, he finally got off of our payroll officially. Was it last year? Oh, what caused it? He officially got off our payroll, meaning like we aren't paying for anything for him. Maybe I pay for his Hulu account because we share. But he bought a new car, and so his toll tag was attached to our account. But when he bought a new car, his dad was like, well, no, you can get your own toll tag. So he had to get his own toll tag. Now he's a full-fledged adult paying all of his bills on his own. And you guys will be doing that one day. So I just kind of wanted to talk to you about how you can build wealth through real estate, because you guys are all working hard in school to learn your craft so you can go out to the world and work hard in a career. But I want to tell you, there's another way that you can make money, and it's just by having the roof over your head. The roof over your head can help make money for you. Okay, now why all of a sudden did this not work? Do anything back here? Else? Huh. It was working earlier. Okay. I did. So, one thing about real estate, it's like a game. You have to get into the game, and you have to start thinking about it earlier. So I'm going to just tell you about my journey, and then we'll talk about some more things as we go along. So when I was probably like 26, 27 years old, I was married, and for a couple of years, and my husband, we had just graduated from college a few years prior. So like maybe I think I was 23 or 24. I was 23 when I graduated from college. And I'm still living the college life. You know, in fact, we went to school at Texas State in San Marcos, and we were still living there. And I said, we're gonna still live here because my husband had another year to go, and I figured, let's stay here because he doesn't need any motivation not to go to school. So we stayed in San Marcos for a year after I graduated, and then after I graduated, we moved to Austin. But I'm still living like a college student. I'm in an apartment, you know, just no responsibilities, no child or anything. So it's just me and him and living in an apartment. And it was a very nice apartment. Hi, come on in. It was a very nice apartment. It was brand new. You know, we were used to staying like in college-like apartments. Do you guys stay in apartments here? Are y'all in the dorm? Yes. Okay. Are you guys planning to get into apartments? Yes. Have you seen the apartments around here? Yeah. They're very much, they're geared for college students, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Y'all are college students. So when we moved to Austin, we moved to a brand new apartment, and then, you know, and this is, you know, I know everybody has like the gated communities now that they didn't back then. So a gated community, the pool, like all the luxuries, and it was just really nice. We had crown molding, we had granite countertops. It was really nice from what we were used to. And we were there for a couple of years, and my husband's like, well, we need to buy a house. And I'm like, why? Because if something breaks, I can call the landlord and they can come and fix it. And so I said no. And then, but he had a friend who was a realtor, and he constantly was telling him the importance of buying a home and, you know, how smart it was and stuff. And he really had to convince me. So the way that my husband and his friend convinced me was they took me to a new construction community, and they took me to this new construction house, and I was like, I'm ready, let's do it. So we bought our first home, and, you know, I was really scared, I was really nervous, but honestly, at that time, our mortgage was less than our rent that we were paying for this fancy 2-bedroom apartment. Our mortgage was less than our rent, so it just financially made sense. The scariest thing about it was just, I just didn't know what to expect, and I was not really willing to listen, or I didn't see the benefit. After a couple of years, and this was in Austin, my husband told me that we need to sell our house, and I'm like, what are you talking about? He probably spent 2 years trying to convince me to buy the house, and then he's trying to tell me to sell the house. And he said, well, we have equity in our home. I was like, what is that? Do y'all know what equity is? We'll talk about it in a little bit. I don't know what equity is. I didn't even have curtains on all of our windows. You know, like I had not finished furnishing the house and everything. And he's like, well, we've made money on our house. Our house has gone up in value. So what I did not know is that when we moved to our home in Austin, it was not very far away from Dell Computers headquarters, which had just moved there. And so they brought all these people from California, and this is in the 90s. They brought all these people from California, and I don't know if you know about California people, their real estate is crazy high. We had a 3-bedroom house, and I had an aunt who was from California, and she would ask me if that was $1 million home, and I'm like, we paid $125,000 for this house, and she thought it was $1 million home, because she said in California, that's what it would be. So these people moving from California had sold their homes in California, had all this money, and they moved to Texas, they were moving to Austin. So, and where I was like, ooh, $125,000, that's a lot of money, they were like, I want that house, does somebody else want it? I'll pay $200,000 for that house. So property values were going up. I didn't know, but my husband knew because he was talking to his friend who was a realtor. So he convinced me to sell our house, and then on this little game board here, when we sold our first home, we made $60,000. And in the 90s, as you know, kids with no responsibility, or these adult kids with no responsibility, that's a lot of money. But I don't know, what do you guys think? Is $60,000 a lot of money to y'all today? Not, no? You wouldn't take it? You think so?
I would, because the 2 careers I wanna go into, they are about like that much salary wise.
Uh-huh. Well, let's pretend like it's $60,000. What would that be worth today? Let's say that's like $200,000. Would it be worth it for you to sell your house if you had a plan and a strategy to move into the next home? You know what you would do? You would probably talk it over with the realtor and say, help me make it make sense.
Yeah.
And that's okay, 'cause that is literally what that agent had to do with me, because my husband was ready to go, and I'm like, make it make sense, because I don't see how this makes sense. But what we did was we took that $60,000 and we put all of that money into our next home. Because our first home, that's gonna be, your first home is always probably gonna be the hardest home to get into, because you've got to save down payment, closing costs, it's a lot of money, right? And it's probably more money than you've held in your hands, unless you paid your own tuition, like had to take a check to the bursar or what, like, did they tell you that? Yes, I am like, okay. Or push your pay to bill like that, but it's a lot of money. So, but the second home, you may have equity from your first home to take it to the next one. So that's what we did. We took that money and we put it into our second home, and we were able to upgrade our home. So before we had a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, it was like, I don't know, 1,300 square feet. The next home that we bought, it was like a 4-bedroom, it had an office, it had this huge game room that was upstairs that ran like the whole length of the garage. It was so nice, y'all. Loved that house, loved it. We built it. We got to pick out everything in that house. And then after we moved in, we added some more upgrades to that house. And do you know how long we were in that house? 4 months. Because my job said, Kim, we need you in Dallas. And I'm like, but we just moved here. So we did not get to see that house go up in value because we were only there for 4 months. But luckily I was working with a really good realtor who made sure that we did not lose money when we sold the home. And that $60,000 that we had from our first home, we actually got to take it and put it into our third home when we moved it here, and we moved into Allen, Texas, and that's where my son graduated from. So we moved here when he was 2. We paid $205,000 for our third home. And because we took that $60,000 and we rolled it into this home, our mortgage stayed about the same. And we bought this home that was $205,000, and I'm like, oh my God, that's a lot of money, $205,000. And it was a 5-bedroom, 4-bath, 3 living rooms, 2 dining rooms. We moving up, right? We're upsizing. We were upsizing. We were preparing for a big family, and we still just had our one son. We never did have any other children, but we did have other people that lived in our home with us. So the home served us well. We were able to have several family members live with us at different points in time. So we got a lot of value and personal memories out of that home. But when he graduated from high school, my husband and I knew that we were never going to be going upstairs and to any of those bedrooms. A home of that size, you have 2 water heaters, 2 AC units. it's expensive, and of course, you know, one will break and then the other one gets jealous and it's gonna break, so that's very expensive. So we knew that when he graduated, we wanted to downsize. So that's what we did, and so by then, now it's 16 years later, and he's graduated from high school. Our home, our $205,000 home had doubled in value. So now, did you have a question?
Congratulating you.
Yo, thank you. Our $200,000 home had doubled in value. And not only did it increase in value, but we had a loan. And over 16 years, we had paid that loan way down. So we had a lot of money in between what we owed and what the home was valued. And that in the middle, this is act like I'm holding a bag of money, that's called equity. That's what equity is. Equity is the difference between what your house is valued at and what you owe. And when you're selling, you get to take that big old bag of money. So from our third home, when we sold it, we were able to take $200,000 over into our next home, which is our current home that we're in. So we're kind of moving around the board here in this game we call real estate life. So our fourth home, you know, it was the right size for us because now it's just my husband and I. My son has gone off to college. In fact, he went to UNT, so he was your neighbor up here for a little while. We bought in a new neighborhood, so his whole senior year, I spent time just going around different neighborhoods. I wasn't even a realtor at that time, but I was just going around different parts of the area to see where are we gonna move next. And I came across this neighborhood in Salina called Mustang Lakes. Remember I talked about that? It's where we live now. Called Mustang Lake. So we moved to that neighborhood. It was, they were just now building it. It's brand new. We were able to get in when the prices were a lot lower, you know? So if you ever hear phase one, when you're buying a home in a new community, and you hear phase one, it's a good time it's a good place to be, because that's the prices are gonna be the lowest to purchase at that time. COVID happened. I don't know if you guys, does anybody know what happened during COVID? Not the health part of it, but the economy part of it. What happened?
Housing prices, like,
Oh, housing prices went
Yeah.
up. Why?
well, people were trying to get out of larger cities
Mhm.
and supplies, the supply chain of building homes started to disintegrate and, cost of, the housing prices went up. Either one, was more of a demand than item costs, so I like the highest bidder at that point.
All of that. How do you know that?
Bit of a nerd.
You're a bit of a nerd?
Yeah.
Smart subject to be a nerd about, for sure. So everything you said is exactly true. What happened during COVID, the world shut down, but we still had to work. And like, can we just all agree that we're just all not gonna collectively pay bills? I mean, are we cool with that? And they said, no, you gotta keep working. So we all had to keep working, but we had to work differently. You guys were not in school. What year are you in?
I was in school. I was 11th grade.
No, I meant like high school. Okay, that's true. Okay. So you guys had to homeschool, right? You had to do school from home. People had to work from home. And suddenly they don't have to work, 15 minutes from the office. In fact, they could work somewhere in the mountains. They could work on a beach somewhere. They do not have to work tethered to their jobs. So people start moving like crazy. And that's why the housing demand went up, because people were like, I no longer have to be here in the city that I really didn't want to be in anyway. I just moved here because my job made me, and I can move anywhere. So housing demand went up, but supply went down. Normally in real estate, we might have about 4 to 5 months worth of supply. So meaning there are enough houses out there to where if you put your house on the market, it may take 4 or 5 months to sell. During COVID, do you know how much inventory we had, especially in the Dallas-Fort Worth area? Can anybody guess? Maybe 2 weeks? Maybe 2 weeks. So when you talked about multiple offers, so remember I said, like, even in the 90s, when those people from California were moving to Texas and they said, somebody else wants this house? Oh, I want this house. I'll pay more for this house. During COVID, it was like it was on steroids. It was just crazy. People were bidding $100,000 over, the list price to get to get the offer, to win the offer. Because inventory was low, demand was very high, and interest rates were very low as well. So that made the mortgage industry fun, interesting during that time. So during that time, we purchased our home for about $350,000. After COVID, now, and I actually just got a report yesterday on approximate value of our home. We bought it for $350 in 2018, and now it is worth like $650,000. We've only been in it for 4 years. It took us 16 years on our home in Allen for it to double in value and get up to $200,000. And now we've only been in our home for a few years and it's more than doubled in price. That sound like wealth is building? Wealth is building. So much so that we've pulled some equity out. We purchased some land that we will eventually build on ourselves. We bought an investment property and we helped our son to buy his first home. All of that just because we had money sitting that we were living in. It's like you're literally living in a bank. Okay, and so that's kind of my journey. So tell me, why do you guys think real estate matters? Anybody have an idea? Why is real estate kind of important to start thinking about?
Well, in a capitalistic society that we live in, where the population is only gonna grow onwards, we need to put somewhere to put everybody. So, it starts a conversation of having somewhere to put yourself first and venturing out, and then as more people come in, the demand for what you have starts to go up and you can start to leverage it. So.
That's good. So, why does real estate matter? It's your net worth, right? So I think what you're talking about is like your value. So who can tell me what net worth is?
The difference between your assets
Girl, is that on your exam tomorrow?
and your money.
The value, did you know? I mean, like, this is amazing. The value of the assets a person or corporation owns minus the liability that they owe. That's your net worth. So, okay, college students. Anybody wanna tell me what you think your net worth is? Think about, let's think about everything you own. Your phone, your computers, your clothes, all your belongings at home. Anybody have an idea of what that could be worth? If everything burned down, all your stuff, how much would it cost to buy all that? Any guesses? You're thinking, what's your number?
If everything burned down, like clothes, shoes, ooh.
Wall that.
Um,
Car.
I'll just give this, maybe like 1,000 or more, just because it's like, you have like clothes, shoes, like utilities, like cars and stuff. Your house, so that's a lot of money.
Because you don't own your house right now, right? So don't count your, you ain't gonna pay to replace somebody else's house, right? Just your stuff. So about $1,000? Okay,
probably, yeah.
Teresa,
I think it'd be a lot more.
you think it'll be a lot more?
Yeah, like car, laptop, like just stuff that you need and shoes. I feel like it'd be around like maybe 7-ish.
7,000?
Yeah.
Do we sound like we're in the ballpark here, guys? The average person who rents. Oh, wait, hold on. Home ownership is one of the most effective ways to build wealth in America. Okay, so the average renter net worth is about 5.2 million. I mean, oh, that'd be great. 5.2 thousand, $5,200. So you were close. And you were a little slight. I think you were probably not including do you have a car?
No.
Okay, so there you go. So you may be right on the money. But let's pretend like we have a car and everything burned down and take about $5,200 to replace that. Versus a homeowner who has a physical property, $231,000. Anybody think that could be you? When do you think that could be you?
130, hopefully.
What about you two?
I think I agree.
Lola,
Yeah.
how old do you think you'll be? Which one's Lola? You're Lola. How old do you think you'll be when you buy a home?
I'm gonna say, how old would I be?
Yeah.
I would say. Maybe like in my early 30s.
Early 30s? And I'm sorry, I got Lola and I'm like, y'all are both Lola. What's your name?
Lindsay.
Lindsay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Lindsay. How old do you think you'll be?
About 35.
35? Gabby?
I finally purchased my home and it was at 29.
29. Okay, congratulations. I'm gonna challenge y'all to do it sooner. Okay, so when you get out into the workforce, you guys are gonna be working hard. Have you guys ever had to do a performance review? To tell your boss like how great you are? And then they decide, you tell them how wonderful you are excellent, you are amazing, and how much money that you have brought to the table, or how you've improved on these processes, or how you've increased, I don't know, what are the things that you do on your jobs? Teresa,
You know.
that you have really nurtured these children,
Right.
Teresa and I work together, actually. That you have nurtured these children and made them so much smarter and more loved, and you've really enriched their lives, that's invaluable, right? And then Miss Sarah, it's our boss, Miss Sarah says, oh, great, I'll give you a 50-cent raise. Does it match? Does your effort match the raise that you get? Oh, not always. So we're gonna talk about how you can kind of give yourself a raise. But here's some statistics I kind of want you guys to take a look at. In the salary world today, there's a wealth gap. Male employees tend to make 18% more than female employees. Is this something you can control? Can you control the gap? And we talk about it all day. We've been talking about it for years. We've been fighting, we've been marching, and that gap is not getting much smaller. But we don't control it. We can't control corporate America. Ladies, I want to tell you, as it pertains to homeownership, we're closing the gap. Because home ownership is something that we can control. We can decide if we're gonna be homeowners or not. And there is only, I don't say only, but it's a small gap. There's a 6% gap between male-headed household owners, people who own a home. So 67% of men own a home versus 61% of women. So we're still slightly under, but that's a small gap. Because we can control that. We can control whether or not we are homeowners. And we already discussed that buying real estate or owning real estate is one of the best ways to build wealth in America. You talk to any millionaire, they are going to have some real estate. Now, when we look at homeownership between the average white household versus the average Black and brown household, we have a pretty significant gap. We have some work to do. 74% of the average white household owns a home versus only 44 and 49% of the Black and Latino population. So we have like a 25 to 30% gap. It's something we can control. So when I say that real estate is wealth, it's a raise. So you can control that. What would you rather fight for, or not would you rather fight for, but what do you think you can have a bigger impact on in getting a raise? Talking to your blue in the face, to your boss, about how great you are to give you a raise, or investing in yourself, in your family? Which one do you think you can do better? Gabby's saying, she's saying you investing in yourself. So real estate, that is how you can help to build wealth for yourself. You can, and I'm not saying I don't want y'all to go out there and be great employees or great entrepreneurs or CEOs. I'm not saying that. I do want you to do that. But I want you to also know that you control your wealth. It's easy to get bogged down into your job and thinking that they control your destiny, but I don't know if you guys have been watching the news, how many people have been getting laid off of their jobs, right? for doing nothing wrong, Maybe there are some people who are losing their jobs because of their performance, but there's a lot of people losing their jobs, not because of their performance, just because they got caught in the crosshairs. And they can't control that. But owning a home, for some of those people, they're very worried because they have no assets. And they're like, I don't even know where I'm gonna get it tomorrow's, like paycheck from. But if you own a home, you have money to pull from. You have equity in that home. So if you get into trouble, that's something you can do. You can pull money out of it. You can sell that home. I was just speaking with the gentleman over here. He helped me with my tech. Do you know his name, Chad? You don't know? Little guy over here, across the way. And he just told me that he bought a home right around COVID, right around that crazy time. And I can't remember what he said he paid for, but I think two something. He paid two something for his home. And then COVID happened. And he was going to start a program somewhere outside of the Denton area and move. So he's selling his house. And right now, when they close, he will have $100,000 in his pocket. And he just bought that home a few years ago. And he's gonna go and live with some family. So even though his plan had changed, because he thought he was going to be going on to do a different program and start this new training, his goal has changed. And he's gonna go move back home, but mom and dad ain't gonna be mad at you if you come home with $100,000. Because you may have a plan. You may only be there for a little while. You may be able to help with the household. So you guys as students, what can you do to start thinking about building wealth? So I wanna see if this plays out. And so on and so on and so on. Y'all remember the chart that I showed you? We started over here. We started at the top and now we at the topper, we bought our first home. We took, after we lived there for a few years, sold it for $60,000, in our pocket, rolled that into the next house, only stayed there for 4 months, but moved here. And then sold that third home for $205,000 or not $205,000. We sold it for $400,000. So we had $200,000 in our pocket. And now we rolled it into the next home and now we have over, $300,000 of equity in that next home. So you heard this, I don't know, does anybody familiar with that voice? Anybody recognize that lady's voice?
That is from the shark,
Rectangle.
yeah, I don't remember her name. From the Shark.
Barbara
Yeah,
Cochran.
there we go.
Barbara Cochran. So she's one of the sharks on Shark Tank, and she's also a real estate mogul. And I think a lot of people overthink real estate. And even you guys, you're saying like you're gonna buy when you're like almost 30. I want y'all to start thinking like, how old are you, Teresa?
22, 21.
22.
22. Anybody think they can buy a home when they're 23? Okay. Why not?
Student loans,
Student loans?
I need to graduate first.
We're gonna talk about it. How about anybody else? Anybody else think that that's a possibility? Buy your home like before you're 25?
Okay.
You think that might be possible?
I will have to hit the ground running. But yeah, I think I can do it in a few years.
When you graduate from college, are you gonna pay rent?
Probably, yeah.
Then you're on the track to be able to be a homeowner. Like if you can, to me, people always ask like, when's the best time to buy a home? And I always say, when you can consistently pay for it. Now, I'm not gonna tell any of y'all, if you do not have a job and you do not have 2 nickels to rub together, do not go and buy a house. Or if you've got money 1 month and you don't have money the next month, I will never tell you that because then you're gonna be stressed. But if you're paying rent, right? If you're paying rent, then and you're paying it consistently, you may be in a position where maybe now is the time to pay, to consider buying a home sooner than later. And then I didn't mean to push this quicker, faster, but, this slide here is just buy young, earn more. So the earlier you buy a home, the more beneficial it will be for you when you are in retirement age. Is anybody thinking about what they're gonna do when they're 60, 61? Are you really? I had not, I'm close to that and I don't know. No, I had thought about it, but I definitely was not thinking about it in my 20s. I told you, I was like, me buying a home? I'm buying a home, I'm a kid. I didn't feel like I was grown. Y'all are thinking about retirement? Really? Okay, this side is thinking about retirement, this side not,
I'll think about retirement when I'm in like my mid-50s.
mid-50s. Okay, you too?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm just so
You're
concerned.
just trying to you're trying to,
I really just taking a year at a time at this point.
okay, all right. So I just want to show you something. So the younger you buy, the better position you're going to be when you are close to retirement. When do you think you will have the most amount of energy? And when you're like in your teens or 20s, or when you're old and decrepit like me? You're, okay, not as old, but in your 60s. When are you gonna work your hardest? When you're younger? I'm hoping that you're not gonna be working as hard when you're 60 something as you are now. You should, when you're 60, we're praying that you are getting to a place where you can kind of sit back a little bit, take a foot off the gas. So this chart here just kind of shows like how much equity you may have. And it's not even for you guys, for your time frame. This chart is looking at people that are around 60 to 61 in 2015. Okay, so they were close to retirement in 2015. And let's say if they bought a home when they were under 25 back in the day, then their mortgage, the balance that they have left on their mortgage is maybe about $11,000, very low. Their home value, again, this is when they purchased a home way back when in 2015. And this is even different now because we didn't know COVID was gonna happen in 2015. But their home value is probably around $190,000. So if they, if their home value is 190 and they owe about 11,000, here's the bag, y'all. In their home, they got $180,000 if they bought a home at 25. If you wait from 25 to 34, your bag is actually bigger. Can anybody think about why would your money be higher if you bought it later versus when you were 25?
Interest rates, they give higher interest rates to like more risky people, like people you're lending money to. And so if you're younger than 25, you're probably seen as more risky bet.
Could be. That could be part of it. When you're less than 25, do you think you have as much income as if you were in your kind of like, this is when you're hitting the ground and running, 25 to 34 in your career, right? You're just starting out your career and you're starting to kind of progress. You may be able to buy a nicer house in your when you're 25 to 34 than when you're 25. So your house would be worth more to begin with. So maybe by the time these folks, by the time they were close to retirement age, now their home is worth about $240 and they owe about $50,000 on their home. So their net, their equity is about 190. Okay. Start a little later in life, 35 to 44. And by the time, so if you start somewhere like you're 40 years old, by the time you're 60 and you just bought a home, you may owe still about $49,000 on your home, and your home value hasn't had as many years to go up in value. So you may owe about, or maybe valued at 152. So your equity is a little bit lower. Still good. So I wouldn't say, oh God, I missed the window, I'm not gonna buy a house, buy a house. If you wait until you're 45 or older, so now you're really close to retirement, by the time you get there, you may owe about $62,000. Your home value may not have gone up as much, so you're here about $105,000 to $43,000. So this is an illustration of why it's better for you to buy as young as possible. Whenever you can, whenever you feel comfortable, that's when you need to buy. But you may be thinking, hopefully, but you may be thinking, but I'm just graduating, I don't know where I'm gonna be. I don't wanna invest in something and I'm not gonna be there long. So we're gonna talk about some things that we can do, some things that we need to start thinking about at your age, and what you can do to start preparing. First of all, the main thing I want you to know is that home ownership should be a goal. We showed where, as women, we're closing the gap and that wealth gap. If real estate is a commodity and real estate is the item or the thing that can build wealth for you, if there is a gap, that means there's a wealth gap. So, and we also saw that women of color or people of color have even a greater gap. So I wonder why do we think that gap is there? Anybody want to guess on why there may be a wealth gap or a property ownership gap between white Americans and African American and Latinos?
Probably not as many opportunities. Work-wise.
Work-wise,
I think.
that's, yeah,
Oh, it's probably disparities as well when it comes to like giving home loans and stuff.
that could be part of it too. And that is some of it. What else, other reasons? Part of it, I think, is mindset. I think a lot of people of color, they may not have seen that example, so they may not know, like, oh, I can own a home, like me. And the crazy thing is, my parents were homeowners, my parents were homeowners, and they didn't really talk to me about like, hey, Kim, when you can, you should buy a house. They didn't talk to me about it. But imagine those people who don't have an example to say, buying a home ownership should be a given. It shouldn't be an aspiration that you think is unachievable. It is very extremely achievable. So that's the first thing that you guys can do to start creating wealth, is create the wealth in your mind and just make it known that home ownership is a goal. I should change that. I should say home ownership is a standard. Home ownership is a given. Home ownership is something you should do, because if you're paying rent, you are paying for someone's mortgage. Y'all thought about that? You might pay my mortgage. I have a rental property, and I got some tenants in there who pay my mortgage. Thank you. Appreciate y'all. Save, save, save. And I know that sounds crazy right now because you guys may not be making a lot of money. Who all's working? Everybody working? Anybody saving consistently? To me, saving is a habit, and it's not about saving 50% of your check every paycheck. That's unrealistic. It's the habit. If you don't save anything but $5, it's the habit. If you were to say that you were going to go run a 5K, would you just wake up that day and go run the 5K? What would you do? You would train. Would you run the 5K in your training the first day? How much would you do? Just a little bit. And then the next day, the next week, you push yourself a little further, until when it's time to run that 5K, you can do it, you don't even think about it. That's what saving is like. It's not about, giving yourself these big goals that are unachievable, that make you feel bad. It's about creating a habit of just saving. So I'm gonna highly encourage you, if you are not working and you get scholarship or grant. I know that sounds crazy because I don't do they even do grants anymore, y'all?
A little bit.
A little bit. If you have any kind of income coming in, save a little bit. Make it a habit of just saving, okay? And to me, and it's true, you guys, does anybody have children here? Anybody has children? The easiest time to save money is before you have responsibilities, because every single one of y'all are crumb snatchers. I was too. I'm not judging. We were all crumb snatchers, So, the easiest time to save is before you get those responsibilities. If you have birthday money, allowance, part-time job scholarships, whatever, save a little bit. Start young, build your credit, secure credit cards. So has Gabby talked to you guys about credit cards and what kind of credit card to get?
I had that conversation.
You talked about that. So securing a credit card that you use like for gas or something, but you're paying it off every month. Don't go tell your mom I said get a credit card and carry a big balance. I'm not saying that. Get a credit card, put your gas on it or a week's worth of food on there and pay it off, because that is building credit. a lot of people your age, are trying to buy a home, they may not have bad credit. In fact, in most cases, they don't have bad credit, they have low credit. So by getting a credit card, you're establishing a history and you're creating a score. Okay, do you have a question?
Oh, no, I was agreeing with you on.
Okay, you what?
I was agreeing with you on.
Okay. If your parents are really good at paying their bill every month, ask them, hey, can you put me on there as a user? And don't even give me a card. Just, can you put me on as a user? Because if they do that, guess what? You get the benefit of their good history. You're gonna look like the boss because they're paying their bill on time. It's helping your credit. Protect your credit. You guys, I can't tell you that enough today in today's world. There's so many fraud things out there that people are constantly trying to get your credit. There's people send you links, texting or whatever, and they'll tell you like, your Amazon package is here, you click on it, next thing you know, they stole all your money, right? What little money you don't have. And still your money is not even the big game. Their big game is just still your identity. So you may not even know that your identity is being taken advantage of because you're not using credit. So you may not know that somebody's messing up your credit. So I highly recommend if you're not using it, freeze your credit. Does everybody know how to do that? Does everybody know there's 3 credit bureaus? Tell me who they are.
Experience.
TransUnion. You can go online with each of those and freeze your credit and say, hey, can you just put on lock? Okay, if you're not using it, put it on lock. Now, when you go to apply for an apartment and they run your credit, then you'll find out quick, oh, my credit is frozen, and you'll be like, oh, my credit is frozen. So nobody will, you can unfreeze it, and then when they do their check, freeze it right back. Okay, monitor your credit. If you freeze your credit through any of those credit bureaus, you can get a free report every year on your credit. Okay, so monitor it, see if there's any activity on there that you didn't do. Become a landlord in college. I know this is a conversation that I would have with high school students because like, now you're here. Now, can any of y'all go scrape up $15,000 real quick? Probably not. But it's just, you can still kind of use the same mentality for maybe when you get ready to graduate, when you graduate. But let's just say, your parents can help out with this as well. But you have to have a plan. I'm not saying y'all go tell your parents, hey mom, can you buy me a house real quick? Because they're not gonna do it. You didn't talk about it before and you didn't have a plan. So it's probably not gonna happen. But if you got younger siblings or, as you guys get older and you have children, remember this conversation. Your child can become a landlord while they're in college. You guys all said you're paying rent, right? Because you're in your dorm. Somebody's paying rent. You stay at home. Dorm. Everybody's paying to live somewhere except for if you're staying home. So I get it. Okay. What if that money that you're paying for dorm was used to buy a home? And then you had 2 or 3 roommates to help pay that mortgage. They're paying your mortgage. That's a good way to build wealth. They gotta live somewhere anyway. Why not live under your roof and pay your bill, pay your mortgage? And then when you got ready to graduate, you can decide, am I gonna keep that house and continue to let that be passive income? Or am I gonna sell that, take that money to my next place, roll it up? Purchase a home, even if you don't think you're gonna be there for a long time. So when you guys graduate from college and you go out to that first job, I am going to challenge you to really negotiate for closing costs on a home. Because a good realtor can, if somebody is, got good closing costs, they've got closing costs for you to purchase a home, they may be able to negotiate for down payment. And then it may not cost you very much, if anything, to buy a home. So rather than, what are some of the things that you negotiate for? Have you guys started taking classes like that on what to negotiate for? Gabby, it was good seeing you again. Have any of you guys started taking classes on preparing for graduation, negotiating with employers? Do they do that? They do that, right? They do that, right? They have like classes to teach you how to negotiate for your salary and all of that.
Career Connections have workshops on it.
Workshops, yes. Okay. So y'all hear that? I would say, when do you think is the time to start that? Junior year, Gabby? Start it like junior year?
Oh, they can go their first year. It's like this where anybody can come to the
Okay.
workshop.
Okay, so y'all hear that? Y'all
And they
need to-
typically host that in the fall. And sometimes they can kick it in for spring, but typically fall semester is when they truly have it.
So anytime y'all hear of those types of workshops where they're teaching you how to negotiate your salary and all of that, go. But I'm gonna challenge you when they're telling you like to negotiate for like, hey, hey employer, can you give me a U-Haul so I can move across the country? Don't negotiate for a U-Haul, negotiate for closing costs, which is about, depending on the house that you get, let's say if you get a $350,000 home, that might be like $10,000 to $15,000, okay? For an employer, that's really not a huge thing. Instead of a signing bonus where they give you cash and you go big ballin' for a little bit, ask for that closing cost, or if they give you that $5,000 bonus, ask for a little bit more. And then consider that in your mind, closing costs on a home. Because, and even if you're only gonna be there for a couple of years, you don't know if you're gonna like it there or not. But if you're gonna be there, you are gonna pay for a house over your head, right, or a roof over your head. None of y'all plan to be homeless, right? So why not pay for the house the roof that's over your head, let it be your roof, okay? So I'm gonna challenge you to negotiate for closing costs so that you can purchase a home, even if it's for a little while. Remember I said we were in that first house for 2 years in the 90s and we walked away with $60,000, right? You guys are in apartments, have y'all moved from one apartment to another? Yeah, yeah, or is this your first apartment? Different one. So, and you said you moved from place to place, so after you moved out of the first place, what did they give you? How much money?
Nothing.
Nothing? Did they give you a deposit back?
No, because I broke the lease.
You broke the lease, they didn't give me nothing. Jeez. Sometimes they give you a bill. Have any of y'all had that happen? I have. We moved out of another place, we didn't break the lease, and we cleaned up and everything, and then we still owed some money. I don't know, we couldn't even fight it. We had a bill when we moved out. But when we sold our home after 2 years, we had $60,000. Do y'all see how you can build wealth? That's building wealth, that's money, and that was in the 90s. Okay, buy a multifamily property and live in one unit. Anybody know what a multifamily is? A duplex? As you get older, you may not want roommates like in your house, but what about somebody living next door to you, helping to pay that mortgage, most of it or all of it? That's not a bad idea. And don't forget, as time goes by, the value of that property is going up, but the mortgage doesn't change. Your principal and interest doesn't change. Your taxes, your insurance, that may change, but your principal and interest does not change. So as the property value is going up, your loan balance is going down, everything in the middle is the money. That's the bag, y'all, that's the equity. So if you've got somebody else helping to pay that mortgage, you can pay that balance down even quicker. Live in one side, so you can live in one side of that. Or if you decide to move on, you still got that multifamily, you got somebody paying both sides, they're probably paying that whole mortgage. And you're not having to pay anything, and they're just helping you pay your mortgage down. If possible, so my one regret that I have in my whole real estate journey is that I wish I would have, my primary homes, when I lived in them, I wish that instead of selling them, I would have kept them all. Because then we would have had 5 properties that somebody else is paying for. And then we would just be getting their income every time. The first time we did it is because we moved up into the next one. But we could have easily at that point saved some more money because our income was getting better as we were moving along in our career. Our income was getting better. Our expenses were not changing that much. We were living within and below our means. So we could have, said, let's keep that house and let's just save down payment and closing costs for the next house and let them pay that mortgage. Oh, and then by the way, y'all, rent goes up all the time, So our first house in the 90s that we bought, our mortgage was like $1,100, and we could probably easily get about $4,000 for that home today if we still had it. $4,000 a month, mortgage is only $11,000, and then by now, because it was in the nineties was 30 years ago, that house had been paid off. $4,000 a month coming to our pocket, I'll take that all day. Does everybody understand? Just quick little scenario here on, what I was saying, like, if you were to become a landlord, and this is a real example, you guys, like a home of $300,000, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, 2-car garage, it's right here in Denton. That's right here. The monthly mortgage is about $2,900 a month. That sounds high, huh? But you got 4 bedrooms. How many roommates can you have? At least. Right. If you had 3 roommates, and let's just say you were kind and you only charged them like $900 a pop. That's $2,700. And then you're paying $168 to live in your house. And they're paying you $900. And $900 is a bargain. Is anybody, how much are you paying for rent if you don't mind?
I shopped around and, I will say, go versus like to a private like person renting out versus a student housing apartments. I would say because I'm going to be paying after all bills shared and everything will be $700 a month.
700?
That is the deal, but from what I was looking around, just rent, everywhere else was like 1,200.
Yeah.
And
So imagine if you could
And
collect
that's what
$1,200 from each of those people, but let's say if you were kind and you only charged them like $900, and then you only had $168 to pay on that $2,900 mortgage. Does that sound like something that makes sense? And in college, maybe that's something you can't do because you guys are in college, but when you graduate, if you had a 4-bedroom home, wouldn't that be bigger than what you're living in right now? Maybe not you, but it's bigger than what you're living in right now. And if you just stayed in one room and you had a kitchen and everybody had access to it, and they're paying for the bulk of this, something to think about. So this is why I say, even if you're only gonna be there for a little while, especially as you're younger, you have more of a tolerance to have some roommates, even if it's just for a few years, And that's it. This is how you buy a house. But I wasn't here today to teach you guys how to buy a house. I wanted to talk to you guys about why to buy a home. So did I answer that question for you all? Did it make sense? What do you guys think? Anybody have any aha moments about real estate, building wealth?
I never thought about being your own landlord, that can make sense. Like being your own landlord, I never thought about it, but it makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Has anybody changed their mindset on when they would buy a home? What's your new age?
Still before 30, how about more so like trying to like put the pressure on like, I guess like starting, coming out, fresh out of college, taking care of any possible student loans, so like around like 27, and push up like 2 or 3 years,
Okay. Okay, so we got you
Sorry.
south of the 30-year mark.
Yeah, I think I realized like it's probably more important than I think.
Cindy? Cindy?
Oh, Lindsay, but you're good. I realized that you were, nobody else is answering. You're good. You're good.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Have you changed your age limit or your starting age?
Yes.
What does it look like now?
Probably 26, 27.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Lola?
You say the same as her.
Yeah. How about you?
I wanna own a house by 25. That's my new goal.
That's the new goal.
Yeah.
And you've heard me talk a couple times.
I have.
Okay. Have you done anything like since the last time we chatted?
I started a retirement account and I have several investment accounts. Oh, I was kind of worried about my retirement. I freaked out about it a little bit.
The news can scare you, right?
Yeah.
But you can't control what's on the news, but
Yeah.
what you can control is you, right? And it makes it so much more peaceful in your mind if you realize that you can control you. The media is just here to inform us and scare us so that we continue to watch them because it's a profitable business.
Can I have a question?
Mhm.
So whenever my mother passed, I inherited our IRA?
Uh-huh.
RA?
An IRA.
Okay, yeah.
It's hard, is it?
So what does that like fall into as far as like retirement, or is it like totally different? Cause whenever anyone speaks retirement, they say 401k plans, but I have that inherited.
Sorry, I'm a coach. You want me to take
Go
over?
ahead.
Okay.
I was like, talk to CPA.
Any,
Okay, an independent retirement account, which is that's what the IRA,
okay.
independent retirement account.
Okay.
So you got different ones, there's Roth, traditional, and the only difference between those is tax benefits. So
Mhm.
depending on what tax benefits you want, you'd look into that if you're choosing an account.
Okay.
But when inheriting one, what it is the difference between an IRA and a 401k
Mhm.
is that there's a matching system with your work that up to a certain amount, whatever they say in your contract, and this is what you negotiate for. They will match how much you contribute to your 401k. Like if you do 1,000, they're gonna do 1,000 a month,
Okay.
kind of thing like that. And up to a certain whatever amount they say. But that's free money pretty much. And you can have both.
Okay.
And don't forget to roll over your 401ks if you get them to your new jobs.
Yep, yeah, if you get a new job, your 401k, don't leave it at your old job, roll it into.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
We go to that subject. I have an account that I started from my previous job, and I kept it and maintained it, but I took it from 401k and placed it into a Roth, but I haven't had much experience because they tell you have to go, you can't just throw money into the account.
You have to
go
invest it.
make actual investment. But what I do have issues with is it's finding profitable like people, like it's like options or like stocks, individual stocks.
So you have mutual aid or I don't know what it's exactly called. I'll look it up and make sure you get that information, but it's like the top 100 companies.
Right.
There's
S&P 500.
Yeah, S&P 500. You can invest in. Yeah, I get the concepts, but the names are hard.
Right.
But there's stuff like that. There's mutual funds where it's like a whole bunch of companies put together
Right.
and like you're investing in all of them. There's also honestly, investing is really hard for me and I don't think I have the capacity for it.
Hey, Shay.
Yes,
Hi, can I jump in?
yes, please take
Hi,
over.
well, first of all, this is amazing. I love the conversation. I would strongly urge any students that are in the room to go ahead and book an appointment with the Student Money Management Center. And we can sit down for a confidential talk for 45 minutes to an hour and go over these questions and really can get into depth. And we could investigate what is it you're looking at. Like the student that inherited an IRA, we could actually help you look at your options because you do have options and you may have to make them in a certain amount of time. So Shay will show you guys how you can make an appointment. Definitely want to book with us before the end of the school year. Does that sound good?
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
And I can't tell you what a valuable resource that is, that you guys have access to for free.
Thank you.
I have a financial advisor who paid him, tell me, no, he doesn't tell me what to do with my money. I tell him to do with my money to make it grow, because I don't know. I'm not that smart and I don't have the patience to sit and watch stocks and I don't trust myself to pitch and all of that. And he does an amazing job, but I pay him to do that. And eventually you guys will have to pay for that service. But right now, y'all have some advisors that are free, so definitely take advantage of that.
Yeah, the thing I was gonna tell you all about was I have a robo-advisor, which some IRA accounts.
I use that one for my taxes.
Yeah, I have with SoFi, I have an account with them and that's what I use right now because I just don't have it in me right now to watch over that while going to school and working and everything.
I'd be so stressed. I'd be like, oh my God, I lost it all. So yes, I have somebody who takes care of all of that. Every once in a while, I did peek at my portfolio last week and I was like biting my fingernails and I looked at it and like, oh, it's not that bad. Because I have a great advisor who knows what's going on in the economy and he's kind of helped protect our portfolio from a lot more damage. So that's it, you guys. Any other questions? Yes,
I have a question. This is off topic from like what we had talked about. What real estate school did you go to?
Champions real estate. Have you heard of it?
Yes, because I plan on, because I want to be a real estate agent once I graduate,
Okay,
but I've been trying to find out what's the best real estate
That's
school.
that's the one. And that's, you know, and you can, even at Keller Williams, we offer a free real estate school. Like you, it's online, it's self-paced, and
Okay, I have a question. You work for Keller?
I have my license. I'm an independent contractor, so all real estate agents are independent contractors. You do not work for them.
Right.
You pay to use their name. Remember I said you have to pay to work? We pay to use their name. We have to have our license. If you're not a broker, you have to have your license under a brokerage. So Keller Williams is the one I chose. I like them because the education that they provide, especially for newer agents, and the support that they provide, the systems that they provide are really great. And then, you know, you're gonna hear this when you do go to Champions, every day that you're there, people are gonna be bringing in lunch, different brokerages, and they're all gonna say, we provide the best, this, that, the other, and you will have to interview different brokerages. And it's different because you're gonna be thinking, you're interviewing for, you're the boss, you're the independent contractor, you are interviewing brokerages to see who's the best fit for you. And, you know, that's kind of how it's, so when you go to Champion, or so like the Keller Williams, they do offer free training, so you can get your license. I don't know what kind of student you are, I know what kind of student I am. And when you give me something self-paced, I would be 5 years trying to be, you know, we were saying it's 180 hours. How many hours do you guys need to graduate from college?
120.
120? So it would have literally taken me probably 4 years if I was doing it on my own, because I gotta read all this stuff, there's all these books and stuff.
I submit
Huh?
my form, my appointment with the student money.
You made your appointment?
Yes, I
Good
did.
job. But when I went to in Champions, they do offer where you can do self-paced as well, but they also have in-person classes and they have online classes, so you can do a hybrid. I did in person. I need to sit somewhere in front of someone, so I can't be distracted. I can't be on my phone. I can't be flipping through and watching Friends on TV or whatever you guys watch. You know, like I needed to focus, and I did it in 30 days. I was able to take all my classes in 30 days. It's not even $1,500 to take all 6 classes.
Right, because I was looking at, let's say there's one, Plano, I think. There's one in Plano. I was looking at it over with my mom, because I've been telling her for years, was like, I need my real estate license, you know, that's what I want to do, so.
Yeah, you know what I'm gonna challenge you to do? Try and pay for those classes yourself, because if you do, you're invested, right? And you're gonna do it. If somebody else pays for the classes, you may not be invested to follow through with it. You may take all the classes, you may get your license.
Right.
But if you didn't pay for it, you may not be motivated to do anything beyond it, because it is work afterwards. You know, there's, like I said, you don't work for anyone, you work for yourself. So nobody is like handing you stuff and, oh, look, we've got like 5, you know, let me give you your calendar. Here are 5 buyers, they're all qualified, they're ready to go, put in a contract. That's not the case. You gotta go, every day you're trying to get hired.
Yeah.
Basically. Okay. All right, you guys see the QR code? Can everybody scan the QR code? This is my contact information. Let's stay in contact. If you have questions about real estate, personally, you know, like investing, how to do, you know, I had that chart of how to buy a home. We didn't talk about that. I wanted to talk to you guys about why to buy a home. If you want to talk about how to buy a home, you know, give me a call. Just any question, if you have questions about your career, as you start taking classes, if you have questions, oh, and it's the other thing that I like about the classes, the books that they have, and they're, you know, each one, they're about this big. The class is 2 days. 30 hours in 2 days. Do the math, you can't do it. But somehow I'm like, whatever, we call it 30 days, give me 30 hours worth of credit. They will go through and they say, it is important to note this. You should highlight this. They tell you exactly what to focus on. So if you were at home, you would be thinking that whole book is important and that you need to study the whole book. And that's why it's hard, in my opinion, for me. But this tells you, I'd probably highlight that sentence. I need to like that. Talk to me like I'm 5, you know? So if you have questions as you're taking your classes, or you're trying to decide who to go with, or even as you are in your career and you've got a contract and you're like, I don't know what to do, call me.
Okay, thank you.
All righty. If you guys don't have any questions, I really appreciate that you guys have come out tonight and spent some time with me. I hope that this has made a difference, and I hope that I have planted some seeds that, real estate is the standard, y'all. I expect to see some homeowners. And if you guys are buying a property in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, call your girl, okay? If you are thinking, if you move away and you need to know a fabulous realtor, call me, because I know people all over, and I can get you connected, okay? Because that is like step one in purchasing a home, on how to buy a home, is get with the realtor, so they can help you map out a strategy, okay? Any other questions? All right, what do you got for us?
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions on the chat?
No, we don't at this time. Everything's been great. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank everyone for coming. Have you all finished y'all's word searches or got close? No?
Haven't even started.
Okay, well then I guess I'll see who's done the most of them.
Oh, would you like me to do it? Are you good?